you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego, yeah.
And we are here to do a straight-on movie review for one of the featured selections from the 2023 International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival and Phoenix Film Festival out here in Arizona. And Fuego got to see this in the theater. I got to see it via screener, but this is a film we definitely wanted to showcase. We wanted to present this to you because today it is out on Shudder, so you can go and watch From Black.
And also AMC Plus.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Shudder and AMC Plus to watch this film called From Black, you guys. It is a fantastic slow burn horror film that I personally, jumping right into it, absolutely loved. I mean, Fuego saw this before me, and he's like, I'd be really interested in your thoughts
I gushed about
as
it.
a father, because this is definitely a movie that if you are a parent, you're going to be affected by this film, and I absolutely loved it, basically from top to bottom. And we actually have some good fun coming if you guys enjoy this movie as well, because we're going to be interviewing the writer and the director of the film tomorrow here on the channel. We're going to be talking to Thomas Marchese and, of course,
Jessup Flower.
Yes, all
yeah,
right,
yeah,
so
that's right. And they
equal
co-wrote the film.
opportunities here.
Yeah, and they co-wrote the film together.
Correct.
And it was Thomas who directed it. And man, with just a little 1 minute out of the theater thing, I was blown away because of the fact that it's not full-on horror. It's definitely slow burn. Like, you got to be patient and let it build itself. But from a dramatic thriller standpoint, I mean, performance-wise alone, from Anna Camp, veering away from, dare I say, I mean, maybe she's camp in some of her roles before, you know, I'm sure that joke has not been made. But no, I mean, Pitch Perfect and even True Blood, you know, she was on that for a few seasons as Sarah. There is that sort of like, okay, you know, soap opera, but can she really stretch her wings in dramatic work? And god damn, does she ever here. Beautifully filmed, I mean, great sound and you know, cinematography and everything. I mean, yeah, this is one I'm very happy to be finally talking about proper.
Indeed. This movie was fantastic. I mean, it is what you want as a horror fan as the genre is continuing to be changed and elevated, quote unquote, right? People talk about elevated horror.
Highbrow horror.
You know, a lot of people might consider this of that genre, and I wouldn't disagree with them. This is just it's really well thought out character piece that people are just allowed to shine in and amongst their own specific roles.
And that's what makes it work so well.
Yeah,
man.
God, especially the two lead actors.
Yeah, John Ailes, who plays Abel, along with Cora, who's played by Anna Camp, the aforementioned.
Indeed. Both fantastic, fantastically engaging. The film is engaging the whole way through, even though the film takes its time. Some might say it's slow. I don't particularly view it that way. I think it takes its time and it develops where it needs to develop, and it all flourishes to the point where we finally get, whether we're hoping for it or not, we're finally delivered an actual ending that definitely makes sense and is really entertaining.
Yeah, and we're tap dancing around it because we're not spoiling anything.
Indeed.
But there are things in the third act that are revealed with regards to certain characters, choices that are made with regards to those characters, which I really appreciated. There's some bold strokes for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, man.
Indeed. So the story is fantastic, and it's very simple, though.
Yeah.
Right, so go ahead, you hit it.
Fantastically, yeah. So you have this character by the name of Cora, who we meet right at the very beginning when she has been taken into custody by the local law enforcement, who she has a connection with this woman, but it's not really revealed. There's some intuition as to what it may be, but they don't really spell it out right off the bat because of the fact that Cora, played by Anna Camp, is so much in a daze and a haze. She is tripped the hell out. And then we find the fact that she is 5 years into her son's disappearance, and she's
7, I think.
5. I thought it was, but
either way, 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, lengthy period of years between the disappearance of her son, and yet I can only imagine it's something that's been explored, but because it happens all the time. John Walsh is a key person who would talk about the fact that, like, when you don't find the body of your child that is presumed dead, but they've disappeared. All they find is a shoe, and she is still grieving, and she was a former addict, and that kind of played into the potential of why the child died. And so, yeah, she's taken into custody, and she starts to give some information to these law enforcement people about how she came into this precarious predicament that you see in the trailer, where there's a room with blood, and there's like seance circle and all this different business going down. And she's like, I was told I could see him again. And that's where you're going to get the Pet Sematary comparisons and, a few other films that have come out recently. But this film definitely distinguishes itself with not only tone, I would say, in the way it balances, a little bit of levity with the severity of the seriousness. But I can't say enough about how much I like it without spoiling too much, because it's really kind of a ride in that regard.
Yeah, and I think you've, at least touched on the basics of it. It's a grieving mother who has lost her son, years ago, who is basically offered an opportunity to possibly get her son back. And is offered a pathway to do so by a guide that comes in an unassuming form, because someone that she didn't necessarily know, but
he's in her
what happens, right,
sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the story plays out so interestingly, because you know what her goal is, and you see her try and achieve it via this route that is obviously not traditional in any stretch of the imagination, but it's so engaging the whole way through, and the acting is phenomenal on both parties. I mean, acting-wise, it helps play this story through in such an engaging way where I couldn't help but be drawn in the entire stretch.
Yeah, I was throughout. That's what actually makes this shine so much, is because of the fact that, you can have a compelling concept and, well-written characters, but if they aren't bringing it with full force, as Anna Camp really does in this, man, like, she is, like, practically a force of motherly nature in this, and in both the somber scenes and also in the scenes where the aforementioned levity transpires, where John Ayle's character of Abel is trying to be like, I can help you with this, and she's like, don't be weird, she's like, you're not trying to get in my pants, are you? She never says that to him, but she's wondering, she's like, what is with you? What's your angle, dude?
Right.
Which is why I liked it so much, because these are layered characters. The way that, Thomas and Jessup, wrote these guys, and gals, obviously, is what made them so fascinating on screen, and also consideration of motive. Which is something that plays very heavily in multiple people in this movie, and with certain decisions, especially that are made in the third act, and that's one thing that really kept me locked in. And also, as far as the way it was structured, in the fact that we do have an essence of flashback and then flash to present, and then a little bit more information, there is almost that mystery sort of aspect to what's going on too. So you get little clues, little pieces.
But it's engaging as a result.
Oh, most definitely. If it was linear in that regard, I don't necessarily know if it would have been as effective.
Right. No, 100% agree. And the story played out in such an engaging fashion, again, without revealing how it plays out in any stretch. The acting just keeps you engaged the whole way through. And then you get to the sound design and the score of it all, amongst the director of photography's work, with all the
Duncan
camera
Cole
angles.
had amazing.
To me, it is exemplary of what horror films can be if they stretch themselves just a bit farther. In the era of the A24 horror film, this is an exemplary, exemplary example.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the alliteration. Why?
I mean, it's kind of the same word twice, but nonetheless,
I know.
It's so engaging the whole way through, and it is a example of what can be done if you pay attention to all the right things in trying to tell a story like this. And they did such a great job. Yeah,
and also assembling a team of so many people who, ironically enough, when I was at the Q&A, they mentioned it many times, not just John Ayles, but I think even when the producer, who was standing by the side, chimed in, and she was like, we don't like horror movies. This was made by, the core people, Jess and Thomas. They obviously, we talked to them, you guys are going to see that at some point. They like horror movies, but you had a team of people beyond that, in front of the camera and behind the camera, that were like, not your typical horror people. And I think that's what helps this film bridge the gap so well between your customary person who just wants, slashes or scares or whatever, and somebody who just really demands something more thought-provoking, which is what this movie really does in spades.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth your time. It's on Shudder.
Well worth your time.
And I think that you could do a lot worse than watching a movie like From Black, especially if you already are subscribed to Shudder.
Yeah.
If
Make
you're
it
not,
top
again,
priority.
I still personally think the $5 monthly cost is so worth it just for this film alone.
I mean, they put out a new movie just about every week at this point.
Yeah.
Every Friday, I think it is, they put out a new film.
So your $5 to whatever $7 is well worth it even for just this movie. But
how
there's
much are
even
you
more than
spending
that.
for one VOD rental?
Exactly.
I know you have such a huge library.
Exactly. So definitely check out From Black, you guys. It is so worth your time, so worth your energy, and I think you'll enjoy it just as much as we did.
Yeah.
Thank you to the filmmakers for the interview that we are going to be showing you guys tomorrow after showing off this review, because I think you're going to want to talk to the filmmakers after you watch this movie.
It's a deep dive, for sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a long
They're
hour
great
conversation
guys,
with them.
and so definitely take time to check that out. But for right now, make sure you go watch From Black on Shudder. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. Thank you to Monty and Jason and everyone from the
Big
Phoenix
time.
Film Festival
Yeah,
and
you
the
guys rock.
International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Always, every
And
year.
we hope to bring more coverage like this in the future. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.